that side of the square the buildings, but there were annexes scattered around the square, especially in the early years of the Republic. And in 1802, there was a State Department annex near where the bank is. As far as I can tell, it's near where the bank is now. And it involved a secret meeting between the Secretary of State, James Madison, Secretary of State President Thomas Jefferson, elected in 1800, and a meeting between Madison and a scurrilous journalist, a fellow named James Callender. You know from your history, the election of 1800 was the most vicious in American history. It makes today's election, most of today's elections, pretty tame. The party of John Adams accused Jefferson of being an atheist and of being in the pocket of the French king. Jefferson, in turn, and his men hire James Callender to make vicious attacks against John Adams and his party, saying that John Adams was in the pocket of the British king and that George Washington at Valley Forge was actually siphoning off money for his personal use from the soldiers. These charges were all false, but it was part of the political campaigning of the time. Jefferson wins the election, and James Callender, his attack dog, was so over the top, he's sued for libel and convicted, and he's sent to jail. Jefferson and his allies come up with a $200 fee to pay for Callender's fine. And he's sprung from jail, but he wants more. He meets James Madison, and he demands the post of Postmaster General of the United States. Before the internet, before the telegraph, it's the only way of communicating with people around the country. It's a great opportunity for an unscrupulous man to siphon off money, large amounts of money, into his pocket. James Madison goes across the street to the White House, meets with his good friend Thomas Jefferson, and says he's going to be the victim of blackmail from Callender. Jefferson, in his typical elegant way, says, "Callender has nothing on me that I would not own to the whole world itself." Well, Callender decides to do some digging. He goes to Monticello, does investigation, and he publishes a series of articles picked up all over the press, all over the country, alleging that Jefferson had fathered children with one of his slave women, Sally Hemings. This became front page news around the country, a big scandal. The son of John Adams, John Quincy Adams, found this a great opportunity to get back at his father's political rival, and he published a poem, a doggerel, mocking Jefferson. It was set to the tune of Yankee Doodle Dandy, and it went to something like this: when plagued with loads of state affairs, he speaks to sport and dally. The sweetest solace of his cares is in the lap of Sally. This was actually published by John Quincy Adams about Jefferson and the alleged affair with him. The next year, Jefferson pulls off his diplomatic coup, the Louisiana Purchase, 1803. It more than doubles the size of the country. He sweeps the re-election. The Hemings affair is knocked off the front pages and is forgotten for 2 centuries. Until 10 years ago or so. The descendants of Sally Hemings have always claimed that A. Jefferson had fathered at least one of Sally Hemings' children. And now they have the technology to prove it. DNA analysis. They have their DNA examined, and it shows that one of the Jeffersons, perhaps Thomas Jefferson, perhaps a nephew, perhaps a first cousin, fathered at least one of her children. And so they're vindicated after 2 centuries. I have a picture here. We don't have any pictures, paintings of Sally Hemings, but this is a lovely oil miniature of one of her daughters, Harrietta. Lovely, well-dressed lady. It's now thought by historians who've done the latest research that the most likely father of the Hemings children was actually Jefferson's ne'er-do-well brother, Randolph Jefferson, who often would hang out on the Monticello estate at the festivals there until all hours, playing his fiddle and conniving with the local help, the slaves and free alike. Both Randolph Jefferson and Thomas Jefferson have been pegged at places 9 months at Monticello, 9 months before the birth of some of Sally Hemings' children, which is strong circumstantial evidence for one of the Jeffersons.